Hello. This is a review of the second episode of my series, Doctor Who True15, the episode title being The Terror of Youth. Before I even start anything, I'm just going to say that my voice sounds a little weird because I have a slight cold and also I've been doing a lot of recording, not just for myself but for other people as well, just because it is so much fun. And probably shouldn't have done it with a cold. Let's just say that. Anyway, to begin with, again, I just want to say thank you because now, because of everyone's help, everyone who's voice acting, everyone who's um, taking part in any way, including, just reading through the scripts and saying if it's good or bad, all of those people have helped me now have a series. I mean, 2 episodes is a series, right? So, I mean, that's insane. I've got my own series, especially a series which is of this topic, of something that's so cool and important to me. As I said before in my last video of this review, it's been a lifelong dream. Ever since I was little, I wanted to be the 15th Doctor. I said, well, actually, I said I was going to be the 15th Doctor, and who knows? I still could, but doubt it really. Um, but now I basically am able to, which is really, really cool. Um, as well, I wanted to thank everyone who voice acted. Everyone who took part was absolutely amazing. Um, it, I don't even like. I just like everyone who took part. The quality was just so good. I kind of was just left in the dust a little bit, but I don't mind that at all. But thank you to our newcomers, the people who have joined this episode. Uh, Bodke Malone, the narrator, and wow, like having to narrate all that, well done. Um, uh, Sean, who's playing Mark, again, amazing voice acting, especially when you had to do the screaming. That must have been embarrassing, I guess. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to do that. Um, Atkins VA, who um, did the voice of Tim and young Tim. Uh, Bob, the voice actor of Bob, sorry, SZCZRY. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm just going to spell it. SZCZRY, who played Bob and young Bob. Obviously, Wayfarer, who played Jesse last time, and the sound effects person, Sequel, who I have been doing things with for a very long time. So thank you for sticking around with me. And obviously, as I said before, thank you to everyone else who helped because, you know, everything you do helps, even if it's just like you read through the script and you say it's amazing, that helps. Or if you read through the script and you point out a couple of things wrong, that also helps. Or those who just watched my the first episode, that also helps because that motivates me to make more. Um, so thank you to literally everyone who has taken part, who has watched, and who has supported this so far. Um, so as obviously, I'm gonna summarize the episode now, like I did last time. Spoiler warning. Um, because if you haven't watched the episode, then this is going to completely ruin it for you. And if you have watched the episode, I'd also like to say another warning because this could also ruin the episode for you because you might see the episode in a different light. So, No, that's out of the way. At the beginning, the 15th Doctor is flying through a time vortex trying to work out the problem from the last episode. During working out the problem, rewriting stuff on the whiteboard, he looks outside and checks the Earth, where he doesn't find anything. So he carries on writing, and the TARDIS is flying for him. And then suddenly there's like a massive crash. He's flung all over the TARDIS. And then when it stops, the Doctor checks the monitor and he sees that the TARDIS is flying above a black hole that's inside the time vortex. And basically they have no choice but to go into the black hole, which is something that the TARDIS doesn't want to do, obviously. And on the other side, after obviously being thrown around, sorry about that noise. After being thrown around in the TARDIS whilst going through the black hole, they find a ship on the other side. The TARDIS and the Doctor find a ship on the other side named the HS Transmission, a really ancient ship which is somehow still in use, or ancient for the time where the Doctor is, and it's somehow still in use. Anyway, the Doctor lands on the ship and has a look around, and even though it's a massive delivery ship, there's no people anywhere. But as the Doctor's looking, he feels like there's someone behind him, so he checks behind him and he sees someone running down the corridor, like away from him. So he runs after him and after the person and gets locked out. And then after using his new Sonic, by the way, new Sonic looks very cool. The original design was by me, and the new design was by, like, the updated render, I guess, was by Wayfarer. So well done for that. After he sonics the door that he's locked out, he goes into a room. There's about 5 people there. Hang on, Tim, Jesse, Bob, Mark. There's 4 people. There's 4 people there. The one he was chasing was a child who is Bob, and basically they talk about that everyone in the ship has been disappearing overnight, and basically they have a guess at what the creature is, and they don't, even though they have no idea. And they say that the creature makes people get younger and younger. For example, Bob, who was the person the Doctor was chasing, was a young child, but he was touched by a temporal, which is the creature, and then was slowly getting turned younger. And then the people questioned about the Doctor, saying, "Oh, why isn't have you been touched by it?" And the Doctor's confused, so he looks in the mirror and sees he is a 17-year-old or some age around there. He looks about that age, and he basically has a fit. And while all this is happening, a temporal comes in, and the Doctor sonics it, and it flies away. Well, I guess floats away, like swims away. It swims through the air, like there's fishes in the Christmas Carol episode of Doctor Who. Remember that? Oh, that was a good episode. Anyway, the Doctor finds out it's a temporal, although they have mutated since he saw them. And while they try to get, and so they decide they try to get back because the Doctor's not worried at all. He's only seen one in all the time he's been there, so he's not worried. And as they're about to leave, they see a crowd, like a massive swarm of temporals outside the room. And basically, the Doctor has to use a toy mouse to distract them because they can't see; they can only hear. So a toy mouse distracts them, and they chase the sound of the mouse. And while that's happening, while all the temporals are flying away, Tim gets touched by one of them and instantly grows younger. And it's because this temporal is a lot smaller than the others, meaning it's a lot hungrier and a lot less likely to have eaten as much as the other ones because they eat age. They get back to the TARDIS. Well, Sorry, they don't get back. They go. They have. So they find out they have to find. They have to locate a distraction, a creature that is older or is very old. Um, because that's the theory. The theory is that the temporals came to this ship because of a very old creature. Because they wouldn't come for people that are about 70 years old maximum, which is what this ship is. So there has to be something that's ancient on this ship. So so they go to a storage place and they find this creature along with a pig, and it attacks the doctor, but then they knock it out basically, and the doctor's like, oh god, because like he's pretty sure that temporals only eat conscious food. Because I guess maybe they get mixed up between a dead living thing and an unconscious living thing, and they maybe think that an unconscious living thing's dead. This is just my theory. Obviously, the doctor doesn't know because he hasn't dealt with many temporals. And all through his time, by the way, Tim is de-aging. He's getting younger and younger. And so they get back to TARDIS. And as soon as they get there, Mark has a massive headache and screams out loud. Temporals come and chase them. And basically, they all run into the TARDIS. Obviously, people are a bit hesitant because of the size of it, but you know. And the Doctor scans with the TARDIS how old this creature is, and it turns out it's very old. So they have to somehow uh, get it awake and get it distracting. And obviously, no one can get it awake. So Tim sacrifices himself, holding the creature and going outside because he's getting younger really quick anyway. So like he's going to die. Because and they do this because although a temporal gets confused between conscious, unconscious, dead, and alive, a temporal also gets confused between what one being is. So if there's two beings very close together, they're just going to assume that that's one whole being that's the same age as both beings. So basically, because Tim was about 20 something, late 20s, and the creature was 2000 something years old, right? So the temporals are going to think that the creature is awake, and because of Tim being awake, and they're also going to think that this creature is 2000 something years old because of the creature that's asleep. And basically, Tim sacrificed himself, but then the Doctor flies off and gets Mark to help, and Mark helps the Doctor fly the TARDIS to land on top of Tim just before he gets eaten alive, and they get Tim just as he's disappearing, and then he appears in the TARDIS, and then they fly away. So the temporals think that they've eaten Tim, who at the same time they think is 2000 something years old. And then they fly away, go to a desert planet called Dojon with a blue sun. Actually, I'll discuss that in a second. And basically, Jesse, Tim, and Bob walk off, and Mark and the Doctor are left talking. And basically, in the end, they decide that they are going to travel together. So they leave Bob, Tim, and Jesse and go to TARDIS and fly off. And that's the end of the episode. What I was going to say before about the planet Dojon is I have got many planets in mind which the Doctor and co keep revisiting. So main ones are Dojon, and there's also Toro, which is a purple planet. It's the purple planet outside of the hospital that you saw at the end of episode 1 that's in front of the nebula. And there's other ones. I'm pretty sure there's like Jara or something. I can't remember, but there's Toro and Dojon are the ones that I have incorporated the most so far from my writing of next episodes. And yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. I'm pretty sure it's been done before, but you know. Anyway, I want to discuss the process of writing this episode. So, after writing my first episode, which at that point had only been written once, it was in its first draft. You know, the first episode was in its first draft. I went on to the second episode again with no plan. I think one night I had just before I was drifting off to sleep, I thought about these creatures that when touching you, they make you grow younger. And I was like, oh my god, that's genius. I wrote it down on my phone. The next day, I got up and started to write. I had no other plans. I just knew what the monster was, which is usually how most of my episodes go. I just think of the monster and then I just build the story around it, which is exactly what Doctor Who needs. It's not like story, then monsters just added in, because that's just not Doctor Who, is it? The original was actually 15 pages long, which would not have lasted long as an episode. If 25 minutes is an hour, um, then that would be about 30 to 45 minutes, which is not very long at all. So after rewriting, after I wrote the first draft of the Terror of Youth, which back then was called the Time Worm Pack, but I had to change because the temporals were called time worms, but I had to change the name of the temporals, not of the time worms, to temporals, because there was a series of books that were brought out before the um the revival, which basically were called something about time worms. So I was like, oh damn! So I changed it to temporals, which actually I think are a lot better. Anyway, after rewriting episode 1, I started to write other episodes, obviously all in their first drafts, and never really touched this episode again, because in my mind I thought it was absolutely amazing. Then we put together, after a few rewrites of episode 1, we voice acted episode 1, released it, all that stuff, and after that, we were going to go ahead and do the original 15 pages long one, which had only gone through one draft. But then I reread it, and I was like, okay, firstly, it's only 15 pages, that's not going to be very good, and secondly, it's just not very good anyway, is it? There's no like detail, there's no nothing. So I went ahead and rewrote it, which I did in about a day, which, saying that now, it doesn't really sound very good, but you know. And I read it over and over and over again, and I couldn't think of anything to change with it. So everyone voice acted it. I started editing it together, and I was like, oh damn! I never explained how Tim got saved, so I had to add a little bit in of Tim getting of the Doctor explained to Tim how he got saved, and then I got them to voice act it, and then that was added in. So basically, that was the process of how I wrote it. Going on to positives of the writing, the description was very, very good. It was definitely a lot better than the first episode. This is because I had a lot more experience writing this type of thing since I'd written other things afterwards. It flowed very, very nicely and made complete sense. And also, I love the fact that it was just a very simple story. There was no complicated bits that clouded anything up. I went quite ambitious, adding loads of characters, because character development and character personalities is something that I really struggle with. But I think I did. I think I did it quite well. So I did it. The way I did it was like I had very simple character types for each character. So Tim was very nervous, Mark was very inquisitive, Bob was very selfish, and Jesse was very confident and responsible. And then in terms of character development, very easy. Tim just turns from nervous to less nervous. Jesse turns from confident to worried. Bob, because he's stubborn, he doesn't change at all. And Mark just becomes more inquisitive, basically. I thought the overall theme of this episode was basically perfect because with it relating to age and people getting younger, the Doctor is able to it relates very well with the Doctor finding out how young he is, which is quite interesting. And also as you watch the series, like all the series, like from the very beginning, the classic, to now, you can actually see the Doctor getting younger and younger on average, which I wanted to kind of add in a little bit. The episode was the right length. There was absolutely no plan to this episode, but it still turned out pretty good. The Doctor's character is retained during this episode, as it is in the previous episode, with him being very happy and energetic, then suddenly getting quite depressed and worried. This story fits the audio drama structure a lot better than episode 1, I think. So overall, with all these positives that I thought of, I think it's a vast improvement in terms of writing compared to episode 1. The negatives, I added too much narration. My audience, the people listening to this aren't going to be like 3-year-olds. They don't need every single little thing explained to them. But still, my brain is like, yep, you need to explain every single thing to them. Otherwise, no one's going to understand. That's basically it. But I don't need to rely so much on narration. I don't need to add so much in. It was pointed out to me that someone who read the script, someone who listened to it through, thought that maybe it could have been a slight cop out when the temporals were unable to eat conscious food. This completely unintentional. This was like something that I thought was pretty interesting as I was writing it. And it was something that was put there in order to add a little bit of drama, because if that wasn't there, then Tim wouldn't have had to have gone out to have been killed. But I can see where they're coming from. I can see where this person's coming from. And I absolutely hate cop outs. Like the last episode with that massive cop out, oh my god. Like, for some reason I didn't think of it until I'd uploaded it, but wow, like that's just really annoying. As I stated earlier, the bit that I added in last minute where Tim was saved and the Doctor was explaining to Tim how he was saved, that did seem like, to me anyway, and it could have just be because I know the behind the scenes, but to me anyway, it seemed like it was a bit kind of just like placed in there. It didn't really fit. I guess I could have put that somewhere else, but I don't really know. Oh, and here we go. These last 2 points are very linked. The very bad comedy. Like, Doctor Who has slight comedy in it, and like very, very slight. And I tried to add a little bit in, but comedy is hard, and I didn't do it well. And the next thing, which is very much related to this, is the sick bucket thing. The thing where I said that Tim put his hand in the bucket, and that's all I said. I should have said that Tim put his hand in the bucket, but he didn't quite touch the sick. Because, like, what I was thinking when I was writing it was that Tim put his hand in the bucket, but, like, the sick was, like, all at the bottom. So he put it in, but he didn't. He put his hand in the bucket, but he didn't actually touch the sick. And then the doctor took it away before he could touch the sick. That's what I was trying to go for. And so I had to add that little bit of text on the screen. And, you know, it's just not very good, is it? Anyway, but in terms of writing, I'm still testing and learning. But trust me, yeah, the next few episodes are absolutely amazing. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but they are really, really good. And people have read them, they're like, wow, this is actually, like, the voice actors have read them, they're actually very surprised. And excited, I guess, to record this. Same here. It's very I can't wait to edit those and release those because they are very good. Anyway, I know I keep jumping around, but going on to editing now. Now that I have more experience editing things, not just for myself but others too, I can use a lot more different techniques than I can than I was able to before. Um, and I can do everything a lot quicker and with a lot higher quality. So not so much, messing about. As I said before, I used DaVinci Resolve for this, very good, but you do need a lot of RAM, so if you haven't got that on your computer, then you can't use it. Some of the audio files are edited in Audacity to like take away the background noise because Audacity is great for that. But most of the work I did in Resolve because I was able to use it a lot better. So the process, obviously, I've explained this before. So skip to the time script. I've explained this before. So skip to the timestamp on screen. That is a really bad tongue twister. I've explained this before, so skip to the timestamp on screen. There we go, did it? This could be unedited, so you guys are going to just hear all that. Anyway, my first step was to bring in everyone's audio files into the project. Well, just the files I needed at the time. I would then cut them up, getting rid of versions of lines I didn't like and also splitting up the lines from each other. And then I put them in order according to the script. I would then add the sound effects in. And meaning I'd have to move around some of the files that were already there. Then finally added the music if relevant. I do each bit in sections. So for this episode, I did from the beginning to the title screen, and from the title screen to when the Doctor leaves the TARDIS, then from when the Doctor leaves the TARDIS to when he meets the group, from when he meets the group to when the temporal comes in, etc., etc., etc. After all that, I listen to it over and over and over again, and then just edit small things that I notice that could make it better or that I need to add in that I missed. And then I just add the graphics in and listen to it over and over and over again, and then it gets stuck in my head. And then I start saying the entire story, and I go crazy. I'm joking. Anyway, the positives. Like last time, there was no drop in quality. I was expecting to get tired as I was going on or bored, so the quality would drop, but that wasn't the case. I did get tired, but I didn't get bored. I was just very excited to edit this episode. Every bit of music fits the mood and tone, and there isn't too much music. I gave everyone a theme, like the Doctor and the temporals, etc. Last episode there was a lot of music, and I feel like it was a bit busy. I don't know though. The sound effects that I found and that were recorded by Sequel were very high quality, and were edited by me to make them sound like they do. which is pretty interesting. I had to edit the sounds that are sent by SQL to um, to make them sound more monstery, more interesting. Because I'm pretty sure one of the sounds I used was like the lid of a top, like a bottle top, just being slammed on a table, and I used that in combination with another sound in order to make the temporal noises. The ending, like in the script, the ending was okay. It wasn't, it was kind of nice seeing the Doctor talk to Mark, but when it was edited, it was just beautiful. Like there was no music, just the sound of the wind and sand, and the Doctor and Mark talking, and just the distant shouts of Jesse, Mark, and Jesse, Tim, and Bob, like as they shouted back to Mark. It just worked. It's just beautiful in my opinion. Anyway, going on to the negatives of the editing. Again, I relied too much on narration, although I did take out a lot of the narration that wasn't needed because a lot of the narration could be taken out in place of the sound effects. So, like, the TARDIS makes a noise could be taken out and just replaced with a TARDIS noise. Um, the Doctor closes and locks the door could be replaced with just the sound effect of the Doctor closing the TARDIS door and locking the TARDIS door, which those two I did do, but there was many others that I didn't, just literally because I wanted to try and follow the script and I was scared, basically. Um, there was a few errors with the audio files. A few glitches, like on on one of my lines, I was talking and then um it kind of like the microphone kind of cut out kind of for a second and came back. Obviously, I could have used a different because I record each of my lines multiple times, but that one was just so good and I didn't think I could replicate it, so I just used it and tried to edit it to make it work. There was also a couple of times with the Discord sound effect here, the notification. I did try to cover that up with other sound effects or just get rid of it completely. Sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't because the Discord sound would not happen when there was a sound effect, and also it would happen while someone was talking, so I couldn't like get rid of it because otherwise it would get rid of what they're saying. A couple of the sound effects don't sound the best. It's mainly because the sound effect is longer than it needs to be, so I had to cut it down and basically fade it out, like transition it out. Um, and because of that, it does seem like it's cut short. In some cases, it is just sorry. I don't. In the case of the TARDIS, when it's in flight, it makes like the a different noise. I discussed this last time. It makes a different noise when it's in full flight compared to when it's taking off. And although that's annoying, I don't actually mind it because it makes it seem like it's in full flight and it's not just taking off. Because I feel like the full flight and the taking off kind of sound similar. The footsteps could be varied, not so, very hard down. They could be lighter ones, louder ones, quieter ones, quicker ones, slower ones, etc. Um, footsteps are tricky. They may not seem it, but they are very, very, very tricky, and I'm just still trying to work out how they work. But I'm sure I'll figure it out. Because if you have too many footsteps, then it just sounds like one long noise, or like one weird noise, or like one kind of like super quick footstep, if you know what I mean. It's very weird. Um, the last thing that I want to say is that the music, when discussing the temporal being unable to see, wasn't really needed, or could have been replaced with something better, because it was the Doctor's theme, and also it just got cut off as soon as it wasn't needed anymore, which sounded a bit weird. I think it could have just been replaced or completely gotten rid of with something else. What else? Actually, I saw the negatives. Well, I was expecting more negatives than that. Well, okay. Okay, so that's the end of my review. I'd love to see if anyone wants to comment, or if anyone's even watching this. I don't even know. But I'd love to see comments on your own opinions on both what I have said in this review and also how you would review my second episode. Again, I'd love to say a massive thank you to everyone who took part, everyone who watched, everyone who did anything in relation to this episode and this series as a whole. So thank you very much. I did also want to do a little teaser. So of like the next few episodes. So as you've probably seen on the channel, I uploaded the beginning of episode 3 without narrations. Now, it'll probably be quite a while before the full episode comes out, but it's worth it because it's worth the wait because it's absolutely amazing. Definitely my favourite episode I've written so far, so recommended. Episode 4, fully written as well, and that's also in the process of being made. Episode 5, that's been written, but I kind of want to rewrite it. Like I've had to rewrite episode 5 quite a few times because it just wasn't working for me. But then I thought of something like just before I rewrote it last time, and it was perfect. So I rewrote it again, and it works a lot better now. But it's now I've got an issue of it being too long and of the ending being too quick. So I need to try and cut it down in some areas and make the ending more substantial. Episode 6. Episode 6. It's beginning to be rewritten. Sorry, no, it's beginning to. It's in its first. It's the first time me writing it because basically the person who was going to write it had to leave, which makes sense. It's for work and stuff. And also before that, I had tried writing episode 6 with a different idea and it just didn't work. So I thought I tried writing it a couple of times, it just didn't work. So I thought I'd rewrite it with a different concept. And if you've seen my Reddit a few months ago, you would have seen that I said is there any classic monsters that you want to see back? And well, I got a few comments, and there's a couple coming back. I mean, well, there's one classic monster coming back for episode 6, and one non-classic coming for episode 6. But both are very cool, both work very well, and I did a lot of research into the monster that I'm adding in episode 6. I will give you a slight hint, although it's probably a very vague hint. I had to watch one of the Tom Baker episodes. There you go. Very vague, but very interesting, I guess, hint. Episode 7. That has been written, only written once, and that's literally because it's really good. How the first time I wrote it, but I might rewrite it just in case I can think of anything better. Episode 8, that's been written once, but I would love to rewrite it because it's just I'm not feeling it. It is good. I'm just not feeling it at all. Episode 9, that's written, and I love that. Although episode 9 is a very interesting episode because there's not actually anything going on. Until episode 10. Yes, it's a two-parter. And that one is also good. I don't think I want to rewrite that, but I think I want to change some parts of it, maybe change the ending quite a bit as well. Episode 11, that's starting to be written. Not been written yet, fully yet. But it's an interesting episode, I would say. And it ties in quite nicely with the two parts of episode 9 and 10. Episode 12, well, again, this episode it had a different concept, but I had a dream, a horrible dream, and the concept has completely changed, and I love it so much more. And it's so good as well. It's so good. But I haven't actually started writing it yet. And episode 13, the finale, hasn't been written yet either. But my plans are I'm going to rewrite episode 5, finish writing episode 6, read through and maybe rewrite episode 7, then rewrite episode 8, then read through, maybe rewrite episode 9, read through, probably rewrite episode 10, finish episode 11, do episode 12, 13, then go back to episode, probably about this time, episode 6, read through, maybe rewrite again, episode 7, read through, maybe rewrite again, 8, 9, 10, you just do the same thing. And then I go back, and then I go from episode 7, do the same thing again, then go back, go from episode 8, do the same thing again, etc., etc., etc. So basically, the whole time it's going to be refining what I've written, because that's how I work. Also, at this current moment, I haven't added in the captions for episode 2, but I will be. They're in the process of being written. And yeah, that's everything. Again, very big thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly will in the future. And goodbye.